Today we're going to be drawing faces. We're going to be starting with a circle in the top half of our page. We want to leave a little bit of space at the top for the hair though. So I'm going to draw my circle right here. You want it to be a nice round circle. From there, we're going to go ahead and draw the jawline. We start at the side of the circle and we just swoop down. The longer this part is, the longer your face will be. You want to be careful not to make it too long. Typically, they make it just about the diameter of your circle, if you were to do that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and erase all these inside lines just so I don't get confused. At this point, you should see the edge of my face. I'm going to go ahead and draw it a little bit darker just so the video shows it to you pretty well. Okay. Now, I want you to be using lighter lines because many of these lines we will be erasing. And it will probably happen that you'll be making lots of mistakes as well. Now, the first thing I want us to do is go ahead and divide our heads in half vertically. If you notice, I'm holding my pencil I point and then I put my thumb next to it, and then it helps me use my hand instead of my wrist to draw. And when I'm drawing lines or when I'm trying to get general circles and shapes, I just have more control over the pencil that way. Okay. Then we're going to be drawing a line to divide the head in half horizontally. Don't let your eyes trick you. The middle of the head is actually going to be lower than you think it is. So kind of really measure it out a little bit to see where it will be. Okay, next we need to make another division. We are going to divide the head in half from the middle line, between the middle line and the bottom of the head. And halfway would be right about there. And I'm going to draw another line across there. Now I'm going to take that lower line and the bottom of the head, and I'm going to divide that one more time in half. At this point, you should have 3 horizontal lines and 1 vertical line. Okay, and remember, you want these lines light because we will be erasing them. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start working with the eyes. Believe it or not, your eyes are in the middle of your head. They are not way up here like we normally draw. So we need to take this section from the middle of the line to the edge of the head and divide that in half. And just put a little small dot right there in the middle. Normally artists will use 5 eyes. Let's see. Across. I'm just showing you a little shortcut to make it a quicker and easier way to do that. We've got this right here, and we've got the edge of the head, and we're going to add another dot right here in the middle of those. If you're not feeling comfortable with doing that and you want to use a measurement like your finger and you find where the middle of it might be, that's okay for you to do. You can use anything that you need to help you measure the distance. Now we're going to measure the distance between our dots and the center of the line, and we want to find the halfway point there. And we're going to take that amount of space and double it on this side here. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this side, find the halfway point. Okay, this is where our eyes are going to be. This one's in a little bit too far. I'm going to move it out. I start with an arch across the top. Our eyes are almond shaped, so we need to make sure that we have almond shaped eyes. They should be as symmetrical as possible. Our faces are very symmetrical, so we want to try to focus on that as much as we can. Okay, you can make the pupils a little bit larger if you like. If you don't want to, that's okay. Then we're going to add in the irises. Okay. Now, we're going to draw another guideline. We're going to start from the inside edge of the eye and draw a line straight down to the next line. This is the edge of our nose, and I was once told The way to draw a nose is by not drawing a nose, which means the fewer lines, the better. Our noses are actually, when we draw them, we use shadows to create the nose. At this point in time, we're not going to worry about that, so we're just going to use the fewest number of lines as possible. I usually will just draw parentheses type lines, okay? And then I'll use a center line right there, like a little parentheses upside down. And for now, we're just going to leave the nose as it is. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find the pupils of our eyes and draw lines straight down to that third line. This is actually the size of a mouth, okay? So you can go ahead and use that top line to draw the top lip of your person. If you're drawing a man, then your lips would be much thinner and flatter. If you're drawing a woman, you can draw them fuller. The bottom lip, you have to be careful not to make too much of a line. That also is created more by a shadow than actually drawing the lip lines. So that bottom line should be much lighter than the top lip. We also have a little shadow underneath, a little spot where our chins go in. So you want to make sure that's visible as well. Okay. At this point, we're going to erase all of our guidelines just to clear off the page. Oh, wait, no, before we do that, we need to put the ears in. The ears go from the eye line to the nose line. At this point, you're kind of thinking, wow, he looks like an alien. Trust me. Notice I'm erasing some of my noses, some of my lips, but I know where they belong. Now that I've drawn them, I know where I can put them back at. Okay. We've got almost all of our lines erased. And we can go ahead and draw those. Oops, I've got lines going through my eyes. So see how I've got to even erase my eyes. But I know where those lines belong, so I can go back through and fix that. Okay, now for my eyebrows. Eyebrows actually will tell a lot about a person. So when you're making them, if you're making them for a guy, you want to make them nice and thick. If you're making them for a woman, you want them to be thinner. Okay. You can add a few little lines to add more details, but be careful when you're putting lines on faces. The more lines you put, the older a person looks because it actually looks like wrinkles. So you want to be careful on that. And at this point, I'm kind of fixing the jawline, making it a little bit more interesting. I might take it in a little bit right there. I don't like that. Where'd my pencil go? There it is. There we go. Okay. If you want to add a little bit more to the nose, you can go ahead and draw like one line coming off the side here and then another line coming right here. If you notice, I'm hardly using any line. I'm using very little line to give that nose accentuation. Okay. You can also put a little bit of the nostrils, but you want to be careful that you don't add too much. Otherwise, he'll look kind of like a pig. And you don't want that to happen either. For the hair, start by drawing the outline of the hair. Oops, let's put the neck on first. I think that'll help us. The neck starts at the ears, and then I usually will draw a little small guideline coming all the way down here from the edge of the eyes. That's kind of a good guideline for my neck. That tells me his neck or her neck should be coming out right about where the eyes end. Okay. That chin is kind of lopsided. Let's fix that a little bit. If you notice, art is all about making adaptations and changes. Now, hair, we're going to start with the outline. And I'm going to go ahead and start by drawing half of it as a guy and half of it as a girl. And then I'll fix it and change it a little bit. So I start by doing, for me it works best to start with the outline of the hair. I might make a few little tufts of hair coming out of the back. I might, and then on the bangs, I'm going to go ahead and pull them. Make them a little bit jagged. I usually pull the guy's hair up in the front a little bit, in front of the ear, just to add a little bit more detail. For the girl, I pull her hair much longer. If you want it straight, you've got it just like that. And then for her bangs, if you don't want her to have bangs, that's totally fine. But you still start the hairline down a little bit lower. And girls typically have a little bit of a lower hairline, so work with that. When you're doing hair, you don't want to draw every single hair. You want the place where the hair parts to be the darkest spot. Also, anywhere where the hair is touching the face, that should be accented as well too. It should be darker where it's hitting the face. And since the girl's hair touches the face down in here, you want the front to be darker. Okay? And then after that, you just kind of add whatever lines you need to make it look like it's flowing the way that it should. Guys will use a lot less lines than girls will. Guys don't need as many lines to make their hair look natural. If you want somebody to look lighter colored hair, you use less lines. If you want hair to look curlier, you'll use more contrast between the light and the dark. You'll put a lot more white spots between the dark spots, and that will help separate that out. Okay? And there is your person. Thank you very much.